Welcome to This Explainer, where we're diving into the absolute whirlwind story of Alex Slater. This guy is a 20-year-old app developer who managed to hit the kind of financial milestones in just a couple of years that, honestly, most people don't see in an entire lifetime. Today, we're unpacking his exact, highly calculated business playbook, the totally chaotic reality of sudden youth wealth, and the incredibly polarizing mindset that made it all happen. Let's get right into it. $500,000. Just let that number sink in for a second. For most entrepreneurs, hitting this kind of milestone takes years of grinding. But for Alex, this number represents a massive turning point in his journey. And it's not just about the revenue itself. It's really a testament to how insanely fast money can flow in and, spoiler alert, flow right back out when you're operating at literally maximum speed. And here's where things get pretty wild. After launching an info product course that pulled in a staggering $500,000 in practically just 3 days, he and his team burned through almost every single penny of it in exactly 44 days. It's the ultimate clash, right? On one hand, you have the calculated genius of hyper-growth business, and on the other, the totally unfiltered, messy reality of getting really rich really young. So to understand how he even got to that point, we've got to rewind a bit. At age 18, Alex took a massive leap of faith. He flew out to San Francisco with just $5,000 to his name, crashing in a cramped hostel with 6 bunk beds. Fast forward just 1 year to age 19, and he launches his own self-improvement app called Quitter. Fast forward 1 more year, he's 20, living in a $10 million Miami mansion with a crew of fellow young developers who called themselves the App Mafia. Crazy, right? So how exactly did he make that massive leap? Well, his secret wasn't about reinventing the wheel at all. It was actually about following a highly repeatable blueprint. Alex looked at another massive app out there, a calorie tracker called Cali, and he just meticulously studied it. He broke down their exact paywalls, analyzed their marketing hooks, and reverse engineered exactly how they were working with influencers. Once he had the formula, he simply mapped that proven framework onto a completely different niche using total grassroots tactics, and he found his golden opening in the no-fap movement. If you're not familiar, this is a self-improvement community primarily focused on helping young men avoid pornography and cut down on excessive screen time to build better daily habits. Now, Alex recognized that major figures in the self-improvement space were talking about this literally all the time, and Reddit communities already had millions of members. But there was a massive gap in the market. There weren't any major, sleek, highly marketed apps targeting this specific issue. So he jumped right on that first mover advantage. To make a somewhat taboo subject actually engaging, he completely gamified the pain point. He took self-discipline and turned it into the system where you unlock digital rewards, like these orbs for maintaining your streaks. It was basically a positive reinforcement leveling system, kind of like a video game battle pass. He built in anonymous community forums for support too. And in a real show of that gritty grassroots hustle, he even admits to faking early Reddit reviews just to spark some initial traction and get those crucial first users through the door. Because he was the first major player in the space with virtually no competition, he could pretty much charge whatever he wanted. The app went from absolute zero to making $30,000 in its very first month. But they didn't stop there. They poured absolute gas on the fire, aggressively reinvesting every dime into ads and marketing until their monthly revenue skyrocketed to an unbelievable $500,000. Now, this explosion in growth really came down to his incredibly calculated influencer math. He wasn't just blindly throwing cash at social media stars hoping for the best. Everything was strict. Compensation was tied directly to view guarantees. He was paying a highly efficient $2 CPM, which means just $2,000 per million views. He ran strict audits to make sure the influencer's audience was heavily male-dominated, and the content style had to be specific, just organic, 15-second skit videos that didn't feel like traditional ads at all. This strict criteria meant they were almost constantly profitable. To give you an idea of how well this worked, they sponsored one simple 15-second influencer skit. It was literally just a guy lying in bed, thinking about breaking his streak, but then he pulls out the Quitter app and stops himself. At first, Alex actually thought the video was terrible, but it was so perfectly targeted to that audience that it generated $80,000 in a single day. That one video permanently cemented his aggressive scaling strategy. But making money is one skill. Keeping it is an entirely different beast. When millions of dollars suddenly start flowing into the bank accounts of guys who can't even legally buy a beer yet, well, the brakes completely come off. Which brings us right back to that staggering 44-day burn rate we mentioned earlier. Where exactly did $500,000 disappear to in a month and a half? Get this. A jaw-dropping $250,000 was dropped on just 3 months of rent for a mansion. Another $100,000 was blown purely on buying premium, rare Instagram usernames for the founders, and $50,000 just tossed away on VIP tables at nightclubs. Operating as the app mafia, their daily living expenses ballooned to just absurd levels. We're talking $10,000 a month for a private chef, plus another $5,000 a month just for the groceries. But their ultimate goal wasn't just to make apps in the background. They were vlogging their entire extravagant Miami lifestyle. They were trying to build this massive influencer brand, highly reminiscent of early internet content houses like Team 10, to inspire other kids to become entrepreneurs. The absolute chaotic peak of this influencer lifestyle. Well, in the pursuit of making a viral video, they literally drove a Lamborghini right through the garden and parked it next to the pool of their rental property. Naturally, the landlord saw the footage online, and just like that, the highly successful app mafia found themselves getting completely evicted from their $10 million mansion. But behind all the flashy cars, the viral apps, and the wild eviction stories, there is a psychological profile here that is incredibly polarizing. It's a mindset that demands absolute, unending volume, leaving almost zero room for anything outside of complete, total business victory. His entire core philosophy can be captured in one pretty brutal sentence: do so much volume that it would be unreasonable to fail. Alex operates on this deeply held belief that if you just grind out 12-hour days without resting and generate massive amounts of input, the universe mathematically has absolutely no choice but to reward you with success. It's an approach that entirely, 100% rejects the concept of luck. Of course, operating at this extreme volume demands a pretty severe personal trade-off. On one side, yes, you have this undeniable financial freedom, high-level networking, and explosive hypergrowth. But on the flip side, he openly admits to dropping childhood friends who just don't match his high-frequency ambition. He deprioritizes romantic relationships because he has a vision to work on, and completely rejects the entire concept of a work-life balance. His worldview is uncompromising and, honestly, highly controversial. He actually claims that sleep is fake and that taking a rest day is just a sign of weakness. He states objectively that depression isn't real, dismissing mental health struggles as simply a mentality issue that you can fix by hitting the gym and working harder. Ultimately, he firmly believes people get exactly what they deserve based purely on their output, and he fundamentally dismisses the opinions of anyone who isn't playing what he considers a bigger game. Which brings us to the ultimate question. We've seen the genius of his reverse-engineered blueprint, the unbelievable financial numbers, and the wildly chaotic reality of how it's actually executed. So we leave you with this to chew on. While his relentless, volume-heavy playbook is undeniably effective for generating massive wealth, does the human cost ultimately outweigh the financial reward? Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.